A hot topic over this last week has been Far Cry 6 and how Ubisoft games for a long time now have felt very samey. And it all kind of starts with the Far Cry series. You know, Far Cry 2, 3, 4, and 5, all on this open world template. And since then, we've seen Ubisoft's big IPs make a pivot to what is essentially the same open world template. We've seen Ghost Recon adopt the same formula with Wildlands and Breakpoint. We've seen 3 Assassin's Creed games using the same formula. We've seen 3 installments into the Watch Dogs series of games following the same formula as well. So, the question is, does this formula need to be changed by Ubisoft? And in today's video, I figured I'd give my thoughts on that topic. So, let's get started. And before I start the video today, I wanted to give a shout out to the Talk Story podcast. Those guys were gracious enough to invite me on their podcast and talk all things gaming, and I had an absolute blast. And you can check out that episode as well as all of their other episodes and various content you can find on that channel in the description below. So definitely go check those guys out. Support their channel and their content because they really are a fantastic group of people. And with that said, let's get back to the topic. And I want to start this discussion by saying that I am unashamedly a Far Cry fanboy. The story is always good, the villain is always great, the characters are always interesting, the gameplay is fantastic, and the visuals are always top tier. So as you might expect, I'm really enjoying Far Cry 6 at the moment. And when it comes to the Ubisoft formula that people are talking about nowadays, I genuinely think that it's something that started with the Far Cry series of games. And to be completely honest, Far Cry is the one thing that I wholeheartedly can count on Ubisoft to never mess up. It's a series that always seems to deliver for me. I mean, Far Cry 4 was probably one of my most played games of all time, and Far Cry 5 probably isn't too far behind. And in my opinion, Far Cry 6 takes what those games did to a new location with a new villain, and it just does it better. But that's Far Cry. What about the other Ubisoft games? Well, I missed out on Assassin's Creed Origins, but I really enjoyed Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And I was really excited for Valhalla too. But these are games with hundreds of hours of content, and it's easy to understand when someone says that they get open world fatigue from these type of games. I mean, a good example is I've got over 7 days of time registered on Valhalla, and I feel like I've barely even touched the main story. And the idea of a Ghost Recon open world game certainly intrigued me when they revealed Wildlands, but I'd be lying if I said I played that game for more than 2 hours. And not because it's bad or anything, it just seemed overwhelming to me in a way that Assassin's Creed Odyssey or the Far Cry series didn't. And what about Watch Dogs? I mean, Watch Dogs 2 is pretty damn fun, but as much as I wanted to love Watch Dogs Legion, it just doesn't click with me at all. I'll play it for like 30 minutes and just get tired of it. It doesn't feel like a massive innovation from what was done with Watch Dogs 2. But I think the problem is that Ubisoft is completely focused on making every IP they own just another open world game. And I think that for a game like Far Cry it works because that's what makes the game what it is. But a game like Assassin's Creed doesn't always need to be open world. A game like Ghost Recon doesn't always need to be open world. I mean, look back at one of my favorite games during the Xbox 360 generation, Ghost Recon Future Soldier, and that wasn't open world at all. It was just a linear mission-based Ghost Recon game, and I absolutely adored it. And this is something that I think Ubisoft needs to get back to. I don't think there's anything wrong with them creating these huge open worlds for their IPs, especially their new IPs like Immortals Phoenix Rising. But I think that if they're going to do that, then they need to be able to sprinkle in these classic linear experiences that fans grew up loving and that a new generation of gamers can experience for the first time. I mean, what happens when or if they ever bring back the Splinter Cell IP? Are they just going to slap the Splinter Cell name on this open world template and call it a day? I'd really like to think that that's not the case, but at this point, who knows? I just think that it's important that Ubisoft continue to innovate if this open world template really is their thing going forward. Maybe backing off on certain quest types and adding different mechanics to keep things fresh. For example, Far Cry 6 has a few new mechanics like holstering your weapon as to not be detected, or being able to bribe enemy soldiers for information. And then there's little things like how the sliding mechanic is much more realistic in the sense that if you get a running start and slide downhill, you'll slide until you reach the bottom of that hill. Whereas in previous Far Cry games, the slide mechanic only made you slide for like a split second, no matter what situation you were in. And sure, that might not seem like a big deal, but it's little mechanics like this put together that go a long way to keeping a series feeling fresh and exciting to old fans and enticing to new fans. And like I said, be sure to give fans some games that focus more on linear stories and gameplay. I mean, I know it's not going to happen, but I'd 100% be there day one for a classic Ghost Recon experience. Give me a third entry into the Advanced Warfighter series, or even a sequel to Future Soldier. These are games that I'd love to play, and they don't need to be hundreds of hours of content. Just give me a good 10 to 16 hours of story and gameplay, and I'm happy. Even a story like Far Cry 6 is pretty damn linear at about 16 to 20 hours to complete, compared to the likes of Odyssey or Valhalla, which can take up to over 50 hours just to beat the main story. And that's not even including the hundreds of hours of side content, or even additional DLCs, which are often pretty huge as well. So does Ubisoft need to change its formula? I mean, it's tough to say really, because when Ubisoft's formula works, it works really damn well. For example, the Far Cry games, or Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or even Immortals Phoenix Rising. But when it doesn't work, it can feel like a chore to play. And I feel like that's the case with Watch Dogs Legion and the recent Ghost Recon games. At the end of the day, I think that fans of Ubisoft just want a balance. Not every game needs to be on an open world template, and that's okay. But what do you guys think? Do you agree with me or disagree with me? Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts, because I am always down for some great gaming discussion. Leave a like if you liked the video, and please remember to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell if you're enjoying the content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.